in Advance on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. Survive in Advance is brought to you by MyBookie.ag. I'm your host for the show, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I want to welcome in my trusty co-host, Steve Risley. How you doing, Steve?
Doing great today, Mike. How you doing?
All right, and our topic today... Go ahead.
Heard you guys got some warm weather in Indiana finally.
Oh, we're making small talk about the weather. Okay, so now we're going to be professional. All right. Yes, Steve, we got some very, very nice weather today. How was your weather in L.A.?
Congratulations. It's so mundane, 75 and sunny and beautiful. Just another day in L.A. What can I say?
It was 79 here and sunny.
Yeah, you see, you were warmer than we were today.
Yeah. So we had no beach, though, so that kind of sucks. But our topic tonight is the myths surrounding paying players in college sports, basically. And we have a guest tonight from the Grueling Truth, also from our own website, A Sip of Sports. Mary, you have to be quiet till you're introduced, but here's Mary.
Oh, sorry. Hi, hello. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Steve, for having me on. I'm super excited.
All right. So if we look at it, Steve played at Indiana University, won a national championship in 1981 under Coach Bobby Knight. Mary was a Division I swimmer at the University of Idaho. I know they have differing opinions on this. So we're going off of the article that we got. It's on the gruelingtruth.net and asipofsports.com. You had, I believe it was 7 myths. So let's just go ahead and go through the myths. I'll read what the myth is. You kind of explain the definition of it for you, Mary, and then Steve can, dispute it or agree with it, and we'll just kind of go from there. But myth 1 was they don't mean college athletes. They only mean men's basketball and football. What do you mean by that, Mary?
Okay, so when you mainly hear this argument about paying college athletes, they don't actually mean college athletes, right? They're not talking about the rowers. They're not talking about the high jumpers or the pole vaulters, right? This whole conversation talks about the cheating that's going on in men's basketball. It's not happening in women's basketball. It's happening in men's basketball and football. And I think that's something that gets mixed up, right? Because in mainstream sports media, those are the sports that get all the attention. They get the limelight. They get the scandal, right? Because that's where the money is and so forth. But I think it's really important when we talk about this, that this is coming from two sports and mainly a athletic department that has 32 sports.
All right, Steve, I would think, and this is my opinion, which I'll interject real quick, was that we should only talk about paying the athletes that make the money, and when the money is this outrageous, I think they deserve something for what they've done.
Well, to preface back a little bit, Mary, are you talking about worrying about the cheating that's involved and trying to curtail that, or are you worrying about the revenue that's being generated by the NCAA in college athletics? Because they're two different subjects, really, truly. You seem to allude to the fact that you think the cheating is going on in the revenue-producing sports. I'm more concerned with the amount of revenue that's being generated by the NCAA on behalf of college sports as a whole product, not necessarily any one sport. What are we talking about here? I think that's the first thing we need to clarify.
Okay, so a couple things. So I'm sorry, I'm going to jump ahead for you on you here, Mike. But I think that's really important to say the revenue-generating sports, because that is also a myth, right? Like I'm trying to remember how many football teams. I think there's 3 football teams in the entire country that make money. 3. So it isn't like every college football team is coming out with loads of dough. Their price of, their costs are way higher than the other sports, and most of them come out red. So most of these sports, like football and basketball, even the ones making a lot of money, aren't paying for the other sports. They're barely covering their own costs. So I think that's an important thing to point to. It's not like these athletic departments are drenching in money and like, what am I supposed to do with it, right? It happens all the time. Is there's money not enough to go around, and most of this money is being paid by fees. It's being paid by the taxpayer if it's a public funded show or college, or they're paying by donors, right? And so the majority of the money isn't actually coming from the major sports. They're spending it themselves.
Okay. Now, I played college basketball from 1978 to 1981, back long before there was ESPN, DVRs in general in any way, shape, or form, no internet. The tournament was held by NBC, not even CBS at that point in time. Generally, the rule of thumb back when I was playing was that basically college football pretty much paid for itself, and college basketball pretty much funded most of the athletic department. That was it's a very general statement to make. I cannot go specifically down the rule, but generally, college football covered its own expenses. College basketball, and again, I commit to you, the bigger programs, obviously like an Indiana University or a Duke or a Kentucky, was able to generate much more income than was, say, a University of Idaho. I give you that. I understand that concept entirely. However, now wait, let me finish here. Let me finish so I can get back to ground zero here. Since the advent of 1982, when CBS became involved, the CFA was formed, which they actually branched off from the NCAA and created their own football league and said, we've had enough of the NCAA interfering with what we're doing, and we're going to do, the CFA came out and said, we're going to control college football on our own. Money generated and coming in, and see, the elephant in the room here is this $900 million contract by CBS for college basketball. That is probably 30%, 20% of the revenue that's generated by college athletics now as a whole. I mean, you can go through a litany of, and you talk about people being poor. My son played football at a university, D3 university called Wittenberg University in Springfield, Ohio. It's a D3 which gets no athletic scholarships. They work off academic grants, or we paid for part of Ross to get some academic grants. The workout facilities and training facilities in the facilities that that university had. Now, they had won 5 D3 national championships. But I walked in there and went, oh, my God, this is a school that I have to pay for my son to play football here? And look at these facilities. So when you talk about schools that are poor, you need to get beyond just the checkbook and look at what they have in terms of landscape, in terms of stadiums, in terms of facilities, in terms of equipment, coaching staffs that are all coming in. No university running a D1 program is poor. They're putting their money into resources in other places that they want to put it. They're all generating income because the NCAA assures that every university gets a cut to some degree of conference money, of conference TV packages, of national TV packages, of national tournament events and everything. So it's why a reason like a school like Northwestern in the Big Ten doesn't want to pull out of the Big Ten when it gets its brains beat out of it most of the time. But the wealth of money coming into that university is so great across the board, and, from just the NCAA and from the Big Ten Conference, and it materializes at different levels of volume on different conferences, obviously. But there is a tremendous amount of wealth coming in that we don't talk about into these programs that are keeping these programs very affluent. Wall Street Journal just ran an article that said that ranked the top 10 college basketball programs in terms of value. How do you even do that? First off, but they put Indiana University at number 2, college basketball program, worth over $200 million. A basketball program, a college basketball program that has a value, according to the Wall Street Journal, one of the most respected financial journals out there, of over $200 million. And this is a program that hasn't won any kind of major championship or anything really since it went to the Final Four in 2002. So the money, and if you want to get in, we'll get into all the details of where I think the money's coming from. But I don't think it's fair to cry foul that these athletic programs are hurting for money. The private donations that are coming in, the naming rights of every stadium, the licensing of every season ticket you have now, the conference television networks, ESPN coming on today with ESPN Plus, which essentially is a pay-per-view. Pay-per-view is coming to the fold. So even in swimming now, which yesterday might have considered a non-revenue producing sport. Now, let's say your relatives, and you swam years of Idaho, let's say you have relatives in Atlanta, and they want to watch you swim. For a fee, they can now go online to either your school's conference or the NCAA's or ESPN's and pay an amount of money to watch you swim, which otherwise they would never be able to go to your event. That's revenue being generated to the NCAA, to the university, and to the school, and generated through the swim program. And your argument, one of your arguments is, well, those you athletes in that level of sports don't get full compensation. I say that's dead wrong. I say it's dead wrong that you don't get full scholarship. And that's where I'm saying the money is there. And the NCAA wants to run under the guise of a nonprofit organization. And all we really know about, that we really talk about, is this $900 million that CBS has paid for the rights to the Big Ten, the NCAA championship. I mean, we have the Tostitos Bowl. We have every bowl has a name now. That's money. When you go to the NCAA Final Four in basketball, you have Nike Town, you have this, you have all. Those are all being paid by corporate sponsors. They're paying the NCAA to have the right to sponsor this event. Revenue generated by the NCAA. Everybody, the shoe companies are the most, appear to be the biggest criminals. I don't even know that they are. But the money coming in from the shoe companies is just phenomenal. And they're paying the universities too. Indiana University has a contract with Adidas. Adidas pays Indiana an amount of money. So, and as a player for me, when I played, I had worn Converse my entire life. Okay, as an athlete, I went to Indiana, was forced to wear Adidas. I broke 3 bones in my foot immediately. And it was because of the makeup of the shoe. But yet because Indiana had a contract with Adidas, I had to wear Adidas shoes. So rather than put me back in a Converse shoe, Adidas, they said, well, we'll just take your foot up. We'll manifest the shoe for you. Well, it never got right. It never got right. But yet because IU had a contract with Adidas, or Coach Knight had a contract with Adidas, I had to live with Adidas shoes. No really benefit to me whatsoever. I didn't care. I was very comfortable wearing my Converse basketball shoes, which I'd worn my entire basketball career. So the money is in every university, not to the degree that, say, an Alabama or a Duke or an Indiana or a Notre Dame or a UCLA or UCSC or a Texas makes, but Idaho makes money. Their athletic department is solvent, or they wouldn't be in existence. They couldn't operate because they are a state-funded school. They have to be solvent.
Okay, so there's a couple inaccuracies with that, and so I'm going to bring forth stats, okay? So in 2013, so this isn't 1982, this is 2013, the last time this study was done, okay? So an NCAA basketball team, the average median income for men's basketball across NCAA Division I was a loss of $811,000. $811,000 in loss for men's basketball alone, along D1. In that same year, 2013, there were 3% of men's programs that were even profitable. 3% that were profitable. The average was almost $1 million of loss, okay? And then in football, again, 20 teams, this is according to a 2013 research, 20 teams made money. 20 of the 126. And yeah, they jumped up in revenue 8% between 2011 and 2013. But their costs grew by 22.6. Like this is not being run like a business. This is being run like a government organization, right? And say that every organization for you to say that every team, every sports program is making money, that's complete nonsense, right? It just came out with Idaho Statesman, that's the Idaho major paper, just came out, and they had to the athletic department is trying to save three programs because the football team cannot make money. So they're trying to save 3 programs. Swimming, what is the other? I believe it's swimming, men's golf, and soccer. They're in talks now of losing 3 programs because that is how dire the athletic department is. Again, what was it? UAB just 4 years ago had to shut down their basketball or football program because they made no money. So to say that everybody's making money is complete nonsense. I realize there is a problem that there's $900 million going to the NCAA. Where is it going? Okay, and this is just that I'm not going to talk about the bowl system because it's a little bit different. But from the basketball system, right? The NCAA gets it. The NCAA then, I believe, pays their own people, but I do not know that for sure. But I know that it goes to the conference, who then divvies it out, and it's not divvied out evenly, right? Not all the conferences are getting it out equally. Not all the teams are getting it out equally. They do it on their own formula. They do it. But again, they're getting all this money. It trickles down. It hits the universities. These universities are still running in the red. It's not like there's a plethora of money. Now, you make a good point that a lot of their costs are things like coaches' salaries. Okay, coaches' salaries are enormous among football and basketball. Well,
funded privately. Coaches' salaries generally have limits. Coach Knight at Indiana University was only allowed to be paid $450,000 a year.
Yeah, but
the fact that that's what the state said he can be paid. He's a state employee.
Right. So that comes from it comes from the state. So you can't have the NCAA telling the state how much they can do. But that is one of the biggest costs with football and basketball. Biggest cost is coaches' salaries. The next biggest cost is facilities, which you alluded to as well, is facilities. Those are huge costs that come, but those are the things that these $900,000 is going towards paying. It's not extra money that's going just running around in an athletic department. Like I said, there are teams being squeezed out. Every year you hear about smaller teams, smaller conferences getting squeezed out because there's not enough money. Yet we somehow have enough to pay $100,000 for a basketball player who's going to stay 1 year. That's nonsense.
Okay, hang on,
real
Mary.
quick.
Okay,
real
are you
quick,
done? Hang on, whoa,
Steve,
whoa.
I got something that we need to talk about. I just looked it up. Out of that $900 million, $300 million of it,
right?
$900 million. The TV contracts, that's just the TV contracts. The NCAA keeps
for CBS.
The NCAA keeps, as an organization, over $200 million of that money.
Okay.
And they're a non-profit
I have
company.
that too. Okay, but
that would solve Idaho State's problem pretty easy.
Whoa! My turn. Okay, let me first try to address the thing. Let me first off address coaches' salaries. Coaches generally have limits on what they can, unless it's a private institution like a Notre Dame, which they can do whatever they want to do, which is why they don't join a conference. They can pay their coaches whatever they want to pay them. Indiana University, I'll just keep using it as an example because that's where I went, has a limit. Bob Knight or whoever the head coach, Archie Miller, is a state employee of Indiana. He has a limit as to what kind of money the university can pay him, which I believe is right around $450,000. Do not quote me on that. It could be much different. But his contract's public opinion. His contract's public domain. You can go look at it. I had Tom Crean's contract and looked at it. But the rest of the money for Tom Crean comes through Archie Miller, comes through private donations. They augment his through other things, through basketball camps, through shoe company contracts, through yada, yada, yada. That money does not come from the university, does not come from the NCAA.
Yeah, but that's not his salary. That's an extra.
Hang on. You talk about the facilities. Indiana University just built a beautiful facility. Simon Scott, they remodeled. Simon Scott, largest mall maker of private malls in the United States, gave $30 million to renovate Assembly Hall. Privately donated money, not university money, not NCAA money. Okay? The Cook Hall, donated by Cook Incorporated, one of the largest intercatheterization companies, donated privately. Most of the money you're talking about is not coming from the NCAA or from the universities. It's coming from private contributors back to those universities. Mark Cuban, you know Mark Cuban well. I went to college with Mark Cuban. We shared a girlfriend for a week. Okay?
Not at the same time, right, Steve?
Is that Mrs. Cuban or Mrs. C? No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, real quick, Steve. Archie Miller.
Cuban Center of Excellence for Media. Hey. There's a private donation by Mark Cuban that he made to the university. You're talking about money that's not coming through the direct result of the NCAA marketing universities, marketing players, marketing events, taking money through the official truck of the NCAA, the official toilet paper of the NCAA, the official soft drink of the NCAA, the official pizza of the NCAA. Have you looked and see when players check in? Do you see the scoreboard scrolling advertising coming down. It's not digital. It's not even painted on anymore. The mass, when I played in Indiana, we had a scoreboard that if it fell on me, I might get a scratch. Today, if the scoreboard at Indiana University Assembly Hall fell on me, it'd kill half the people in Assembly Hall because it's full of advertising.
Hey,
it's all
Steve,
private. You're confusing private money.
No, but I'm telling you, this is.
I don't want to have to hit you.
A total budget. They're still running in the red.
Okay.
They're
Hey,
not making money. You're talking about all those things are coming in and they're still running in the red. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
All right. Archie Miller's base salary is $550,000 a year. That is all he is allowed to be paid. But he is making $3.35 million, which is $1.65 to $1.95 million a year on what they call outside marketing and promotion.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
My point exactly. Not paid for by the NCAA, by anybody other than private.
Yes, but
wait a second, Mary. I have one other point, Mary.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Mary, this is the other point. Okay, the NCAA is non-for-profit. These basketball and football teams are run like a business, correct?
No, they're not. I reject that.
Mary,
if a business was averaging on an $811,000 loss on an annual basis, that business would go under in a year.
Mary, real quick, if I'm running, listen.
Just keep saying, y'all. It means I've gotten you riled.
No, it means you won't shut up and you keep talking over us. Listen.
Go ahead.
If I have a business, if the grueling truth next year makes $4 million, when I do my taxes, I'm gonna figure out a way to make it show I'm losing $5 million, so I don't get killed in taxes.
You're gonna build new building. You're gonna build an addition to your studio. You're gonna build a nicer, bigger studio.
Yeah, and it's all a shell game. And with Idaho State, Idaho State.
Okay, well, so we hit an impasse there. So we have a hip impasse there. If you literally reject the actual numbers, right? These are numbers put out by the NCAA.com, right?
Yeah,
they have to do these, and this last one cannot be certain. You're going to reject it. Then how can we have an actual, legitimately honest debate if you're just going to say, I don't believe those numbers? Like you can't have a debate if you reject the numbers that are out there.
Mary,
that's what we're debating. The numbers aren't legit.
The numbers are not legit. I mean, the NCAA is non-for-profit. Do you believe that they are a not-for-profit organization?
I believe that's yeah, of course I believe that's what they are. That's what they file under.
So did the NFL from 1963. Were they non-for-profit?
I'm sorry, I missed that. Go ahead.
The NFL from 1963 up until a couple of years ago was non-for-profit. Do you think that their goal was to not make any money? Do you think they were a non-profit organization?
No.
I have no idea. I'm not going to talk about something I have no idea. I've never even looked that up.
You know why the PGA Tour and the NFL gave up non-profit? They didn't want the government going through their books. Because when you're a non-profit, the government has the right to go through your books.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. There are a lot of numbers that...
We don't want you going through our books anymore, so the PGA Tour is no longer non-profit, and the NCAA is no longer non-profit. They
are technically non-profit.
They are not non-profit. The NFL is not a non-profit. No, they gave up their
non-profit license. Yeah, but the NCAA, it does still file as a non-profit organization.
All right. So my other thing, Mary, is this. The NCAA itself had a total revenue of $989 million in 2014.
That's net revenue.
Yeah, net revenue of $989 million.
After they buried about $5 billion of it somewhere else, they show a net revenue of $900 million, which is what we all up in arms about.
That is after paying all these schools, Mary.
Everybody.
The point is this. The money is there for Idaho State to have a program. The money is there to give players a little bit of money that are Division I athletes that make money. There's $989 million that the NCAA pockets every year. And do you know
it's called the profit?
Do you know what the NCAA has done to the city of Indianapolis?
They held them hostage because they came in. No, listen now. I'm from Indianapolis. Mark, I lived there. They came in and they started bidding out because they were in Kansas City. They weren't happy with the deal they were getting. They started going to the city and saying, hey, bid on us. What can you give us that will give you the prestige of putting NCAA headquarters in your city? Indianapolis kind of pretty much sold the farm to get them there because Indy wanted this moniker of being the amateur sports capital of the world. So we gave tax breaks. We gave land to them. We built their buildings. We give them all kinds of credits. We gave them choice land. And they held us hostage. Now, it's cool that it's there. That's neat that the NCAA calls Indianapolis home. But they took us to the bank to get that, for us to get that. It wasn't like just, oh, we just like Indy. We like the climate in Indy. Let's go there. They're making money because they got the best deal they could out of all the cities they could get. They got the best deal they could, so Indy will give us the best deal, plant our headquarters in Indy, let them build our buildings, which we did. Let them do this, let them house us, let them give us discounts on power, utilities, et cetera, tax breaks, land usage, accommodations, whatever. And there you have it. That's why the NCAA left Kansas City and came to Indianapolis. Mike, am I wrong?
You are correct. They have totally screwed the taxpayers of Indianapolis.
They screwed the taxpayers royally.
The other thing is this, Mary.
But we love having them there.
Nobody would be losing money if they split the money evenly, too. Instead of, Texas A&M reported in 2015 a surplus of like over $100 million. There was 20 to 25 teams.
Their athletic department?
Yeah.
Their athletic department or their football team?
I'm reading it. The athletic department made $192.6 million in revenue. That's according to USA Today. That's in 2015. The problem is the way they split the money up. They give it to the rich people. That's why you'll see, Oklahoma make the NCAA tournament instead of Middle Tennessee State because they want that money to go to the big schools that line their pockets with the big conferences.
Right, Mary. The NCAA wants power conferences.
If you split this
money, they want power conferences.
Yeah, if you split this money equally, Mary, nobody's losing money. Because if you look on those 20 teams that made money, they all made a lot, and they're all in major conferences.
A lot. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well,
they're trying to buy up the smaller conferences and absorb them into the bigger conferences, or just make them, mid-major. They have this term now called mid-major, which I despise it. You're either D1, D2, or D3. But why are you a mid-major? What makes you that? Well, it's because we don't want to give you as much money as we want to give the big players, okay? Because we have all this, but ultimately what the NCAA wants is they want 5 or 6 power conferences that they can go to the TV networks, the advertisers, and say, we own these people. We own them. We own these conferences. We own the Big Ten. We own the Big East. We own the Pac-12, the ACC, the Southwest Conference, the ACC. We own them. Now you're going to bargain with all of us as a general rule, and we are going to take you to the cleaners if you want to put us on TV. Okay, and that's how it's going to play out. That's where it's going right now. If the University of Idaho State gets phased out, honest to God, Mary, I really don't think the NCAA, they will tell you they care.
They don't.
And they will care to some degree because it's an image, it's a packaging thing, but
okay, so this is the thing. I don't care if the NCAA cares at all. I don't want a company to be altruistic, right? That's complete nonsense to me. But what I do, one of the problems I'm having with having this debate with y'all is y'all are fighting a straw figure, right? You're you're saying these antidotes, but the numbers, the official numbers don't say what you are saying. So you are either rejecting the numbers, which then gives us a hard place to debate. If we're not debating on hard numbers, we're debating on Mary, your opinion on what things are, then it's a hard place for us to come to the same point against, right? Because I'm looking at these hard numbers that say these people are making. Wait, I listen to y'all. I listen to y'all, right? There are these hard numbers that these athletic departments have to say because, right, they're a nonprofit, and most of these athletic departments come from public universities, so a lot of these things have to be made public. And so to say that, a basketball program is losing $1 million on average, and then you say, well, there's lots of money, we just don't know where it is. It's somewhere in Indianapolis.
No, we do know where it is. We just said where it was. The fact that you said it's in
Indianapolis. You said there's a whole bunch of money in Indianapolis, but
I have
no idea how NCAA is playing.
What we're saying is this.
Well, you're right. You don't.
The
you don't have any
NCAA.
idea how they're playing.
You have no idea. You said we have no idea where it is. You said A&M is making a whole bunch of money.
Yeah.
I'm saying they're spending it. I'm saying they're spending it already.
No, they're not.
That's
they're
what their taxes showed they made.
They're filthy rich.
They're rich.
They're filthy rich. Indiana University.
So who's they? So who's they? Let's so we can be on the same. Who's they? So no, the NCAA is an organization. They can't have money. Are you saying the president has money? The company is too big? Like this doesn't make sense. It's not sitting in a bank account with $900,000.
The NCAA doesn't have any money. Okay. So
you just told me they have $900 million. So where is it?
No. God knows how much money they got.
So where is it?
Well, I'm sure if we dug deep enough, we'd probably find it.
Well, have you ever investigated the bowl game?
Are they just sitting on it? Like, is it like buried in a chest? Are they like paying cronies to do this money? Like, where is this money? It doesn't just sit there.
Oh my God!
It's not getting to the teams. We're all agreeing on that, right? It's not getting to the organization. So where is it?
That's the NCAA, not the amount of money that's being generated. That's what I'm trying. That's my point. Why the players?
Right. You're saying that they're generating. What you're saying? There's $900 million out there that they are generating that's not getting to the universities, right? Because
I think there's billions of dollars out there.
Yeah.
That they're hiding.
Okay. Say there's billions of dollars, and it's not getting to the programs, right? That's your opinion. Is it's not getting to the programs?
It's
correct.
Not getting to
not that the programs are spending it. My point is, I think it's getting to the programs, and the programs are spending it and still not being able to keep up. That's my argument. So you are making a different argument. You're saying it's not getting to them. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Where do you think that an athletic department's source of revenue and income comes from? Just tell me
where's the biggest source of their revenue comes from?
All of it.
It's all over the place, right? They get it from student fees. They get it. Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry. I was talking while you're saying. Please say again.
No, where does University of Idaho or Iowa State, what are their sources of income to that athletic department? What are they?
Okay, so it's not Idaho State. They are the potato mashers. We are the mighty, mighty Vandals at the University of Idaho. Okay. Anyway, it's fine. It's fine. Ouch. I thought there was no such thing as mid-major, just Division I or not. Anyway, so, right. Where do athletic departments get their money is your question. It comes from tickets,
what are their sources?
Right? Ticket sales for the different sports. Yeah, I'm saying their sources are tickets, their sources are donors, their sources are taxpayers, and their sources are student fees. That is where it comes from. I'm not suggesting that. I've looked it up. That's where it comes from.
So you're saying out of the goodness of their heart, when University of Idaho runs advertising in the stadium for basketball games, they're doing out of the goodness of their heart, they're not charging for that.
Oh, no, they totally are. I'm sorry. Did I not say advertising? No, I'm sorry. You're right. Advertising. I'm sorry. I missed advertising. I meant that in ticket sales. I meant that. I put that in the same category. When they organize it, it's in ticket sales and advertising. So,
when a University of Idaho swim team has a meet and it's broadcast on.
Oh, it's so cute how you think swimming is broadcast. That's just so cute of you guys up in here. Big sports here. You think people care about what we do.
Well, this is the thing. ESPN Plus just announced that they're having
Let's get off of swimming. No problem. I was using swimming because it's what you participated in. That's all.
And ESPN's starting for it now. But
when it's streamed on TV anywhere, your university most likely charges a fee to stream that event. Let's say, like I said, go back to my example. You're swimming in Idaho. Your grandparents, relatives are in New Jersey. They want to watch dear old Mary swim. Hey, for $5.95, you can get online to your conference's site and you can stream Mary.
The conference streams it.
That's revenue, Mary. That's revenue.
Okay, so here's where I'm going to reject that because I know this. Wait, I get to respond. Okay, so that only happens at conference meets. That's not every meet that is swam gets to do that because the cost of doing that streaming is more than a university can do, an Idaho athletic swimming can do, right? And I'm not going to say just Idaho, right? I'm trying to think. Northern Arizona can't do that. Pacific can't do that. Trying to think of some Eastern schools, Most of the big programs, they can only do it at the conference level, and then the conference pays for that and gets that money and I am sure they do not run in green. I am sure they lose money for making that technology happen and getting the people to watch it. Because it's not happening at Ever Meet. It's not happening.
Mike, do we pay to stream our shows on the internet? We're free, right, on the internet. We don't pay to stream our shows.
We pay for the hosting site.
The hosting site, but that's it. That's all we pay, just a hosting fee. We don't pay. So basically the university pays a hosting fee and can host whatever it wants to on the site, Mary. That's a minimal fee. Okay,
but I'm telling you that's not
pays
happening.
A hosting fee to a server, and then the server then downloads whatever University of Idaho wants, whatever content they want to put on it. They stream it out. University of Idaho creates a subscription-based package and charges to watch that event. It's revenue. Revenue.
I'm telling you, swimming is not making money that way. They're not doing that.
No, they're not. Because you know what, Mary? In the sad case of the world, probably not many people give a damn about University of Idaho swimming.
They don't. And I'm not even going to say, I wish we would get out of University of Idaho swimming. I think it's swimming, right? You care about swimming every 4 years. That's the entire American world cares about swimming every 4 years. And then everybody's the biggest sports fan or swimming fan. And then you don't care for another 4 years. But again, we could talk about track and field. These issues that I'm using as swimming because it's my first base knowledge are the same issues happening to men and women's tennis, are happening to track and field, happening to men and women's golf, happening to soccer, happening to, I can keep listing these other sports.
Right, Mary.
This is happening for all these other sports.
Mary, get your point. Here's what's going to happen. Streaming is going to overtake everything because what's going to happen now is you're going to be able to stream women's tennis. You're going to be able to stream women's golf. You're going to be able to stream men's lacrosse. You're going to be able to stream all these. And all these, what you call insignificant sports, people, they're going to start carrying the people.
Oh, I did not call them insignificant sports.
Well, I'm using your phraseology, okay? I think any sport anybody plays in college is a tremendous opportunity to get better educated in many ways and make you better prepared to deal with life. Any sport you play in college is great. However, they will find ways to sell advertising to stream your events and get them on a pay-per-view site. I went to Big Ten Plus before I got on the site. There are a litany of spring practices I can watch. If I want to pay for them, I can watch anything I want to. Basically, it's been generated. All sports, women's field hockey, you can pull it all up. You pay a subscription fee to Big Ten Plus, and you get access to those sites. That money goes to the Big Ten, then it's divided up among the Big Ten universities. Yeah. Okay? So I only know the Big Ten world. That's where I played my ball. So, and I'm sure to a lesser degree, it's a smaller conference.
No, use the Big Ten. I have no problem talking the Big Ten. Go ahead. I know the Big Ten. I'm in Big 12 country.
Any conference is not relevant. It's the same. It's the fact is the point I'm trying to make is before we even go into what I think is the meat of this is paying players is the source of revenue coming into universities and to the NCAA is unfathomable. How much money they're bringing in. They are burying it and hiding it in facilities, in cost overages, on structures, they are masters of it. If it was that simple, Mary, why wouldn't we just have a 10% flat tax rate across the country? Because the government doesn't want to. They want to bury your taxes so they can hide stuff, and so corporations can hide it, so people can hide things. Otherwise, we just say, we're going to take 10% of every dollar you make for the federal government. That's it. We're done. We don't need the IRS anymore. We don't do that because there are loopholes, there are hidden alleys, there are hidden buildings, there are hidden payments, there are buildings being built that are costing millions of dollars. They run as a lost leader to the university, to the athletic department. Most major athletic departments are not funded by the universities. Indiana's university athletic department is self-funded. They don't even take money from the university. They pay their salary, their coaches, their administrators, a salary paid by the state of Indiana, and then the rest of it is all through revenue generated or private donations to that athletic department. Most athletic departments in this country are very fluent and solvent in terms of where their money's coming from. And it's not coming from the state.
Okay.
It's not coming from their merit.
So we can't.
I know this.
We can't. So this is the problem. Is we can't have this argument because you reject my facts and you don't bring facts. You just say.
Mary,
you're chasing straw figures again, right? Like I give you actual numbers about 2016, 2013 stats, and your point is the money's being buried somewhere.
Yes,
well, that's what corporations do, and that's what the NCAA
Mary, what do
is.
you agree?
What's my degree in? My degree is in history and journalism.
Okay, great. Mine's in business.
Okay.
Right
my
now,
husband has an MBA, so I know a lot about business.
Ask your husband about the old phrase, liars figure. Yeah, liars will figure out a way to bury the money. That's an old saying. Kelly School of Business right here, graduate, 1981. You know, it's one of the best business schools in the country. Doesn't make me a genius business-wise by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not. But I'm telling you, they have enormous ways of hiding this money. If your husband doesn't tell you that, then he's yanking your chain too. They can bury money anywhere they want to make it look like they're dirt poor so that you won't get on them for raking in all this money and hide it and not pay everybody that needs to be paid and let the cash cow go and hide under the guise of a 501c or any other kind of nonprofit legitimization you get and just keep things status quo. And just, let us just do what we're doing. You do what you're doing. You're getting great entertainment. You're getting the March Madness. You're getting the college football CFA. You're getting all this wonderful sports. What are you crying about? Okay, now let's get to the real crux. I'm crying about the fact that who's generating all this activity are the athletes. All right, and this is the real crux of this debate to me, is the athletes. At my point in time when I went to Indiana University, the $22,000 it cost to put me through Indiana was probably worth pretty close to what the basketball program was bringing in, because there was not ESPN, there was not DVRs, there was not streaming, there was not March Madness in the way it's presented today. We're not $900 million. So the university, and remember now, when Indiana wins a tournament, let's say this is for numbers, where they get $1 million, all right? They get half that money. Half the money goes to the Big Ten Conference, all right? Now, Indiana's got to pull their own expenses of sending us to the Final Four out of that half of that. So let's say they get $500,000. They spend $200,000 sending us there, all right, and administrators and everybody. Indiana profits about $200,000 from us winning a national championship. The Big Ten, every school in the Big Ten gets a cut of us winning. All right, when Villanova won this year, every Big East school got a cut of Villanova winning. They got their cut that's just out of the conference money that's sent down from the NCAA. NCAA says, you know what, Villanova won. We give Villanova $10 million for winning. Okay, great. That's your cut of the whole package. Okay, Villanova gets to keep $5 million of it. They got to pay their expenses. The other $5 million is divided equally among the other teams in the Big East Conference. That's real world how it happens, Mary. It's all being buried. All athletic departments are being funded, and money's being hidden and buried.
I'll give you.
Places.
Okay. So I'm going to give you an antidote here because that's how we're working off of is antidotes, right? So I'll use an antidote
here. No,
you're
working off antidotes.
I'm working off stats that y'all are rejecting, which you can reject the stats. That's fine. That just gives us a hard place to do.
Hey,
wait,
I have one question.
I get to ask.
I'm the one that doesn't get to talk at all. I have one question. I don't care.
You've talked quite a bit, Mike.
Don't say I haven't. My question would be this. Do you think the NCAA as an organization is corrupt?
Do I?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
so there you go.
Why would you trust them?
Start from there.
Why would you trust those numbers?
Because those numbers have to be, if we're going to have an actual debate, right, you have to start at a point where you agree. Right? You have to figure out where you can debate from, where you can agree. No, we don't,
They're
because
corrupt.
I trust these numbers. I do think they are corrupt, but I trust these numbers.
Why do you trust
because
the numbers?
Because I've done my research. Because I've done my research and I trust these numbers. Y'all don't trust the numbers, so we can't start there.
Wait a second.
Yes, I can think the NCAA is corrupt and these numbers be the same. Like those things aren't mutually exclusive.
All right. Why do you trust
they are.
the numbers?
Mary, oh my gosh. We're in way over our heads here.
Why do you trust the numbers?
Why do you trust the numbers, Mary? Why do you trust the numbers?
Because I've done my research, right? Because I've done my research and these numbers pop up and are consistent.
Where did you get your research?
What was that?
Where is your research from? Where is your research from?
My research is from a couple places. I, of course, use ncaa.org. They have also had to come out with reports for the education department. So I have read the reports by the education department. Yeah, the Department of Education. Yeah, because they're under Title IX.
Do you trust them?
So I trust the Department of Education. So again, if we're not trusting anything, then we could just say whatever we want. Actually, I think they make $1 million a year, y'all. I have no stats to prove that, but I'm just going to say they make $1 million. Like, you have to come with some facts. If you're going to reject all the facts, then we don't have a level play.
Okay.
I know. You literally reject every fact that I have brought forth.
Because you haven't given, you have given me something from corrupt organizations. Through the Department of Education.
So I'm just curious. Who would you trust? So who would you trust it from? Where do you want numbers from? Where do we get numbers? How do we talk about accurate stuff if you don't trust anybody's numbers?
Okay,
Mary,
this is the thing.
Mary, can I speak? You know who I trust? Here's who I trust.
Mary.
Well, I'm trying to, Mary, I trust the IRS.
You trust the IRS? Oh, good grief. Didn't President Obama just launch a political attack against conservatives in 2012 with the IRS?
We strip everybody of the ability to hide under the guise of a nonprofit. We make them a corporation or an entity. We make the athletes employees of the university. We give them a W-2 or a 1099, and you know what the IRS is really good at? Getting their money. So if you're fudging it somewhere, they're going to find it.
So you wouldn't trust numbers from the IRS, Mary, as opposed to the Department of Education?
I just think it's funny that you reject the NCAA.org and
I reject the
Department of
IRS
Education, but you take the IRS, and I find the IRS a much more corrupt organization than the other two. So it's just funny how we're coming at it from different organizations.
Nothing
the IRS is great at one thing, that's getting your money. They'll get your money. They'll get their money.
Yeah, they'll get it legally, but they'll get it.
How good the IRS is, real fast.
Yeah,
they're
as corrupt as it gets, Mary, which means they're going to get their money from the NCAA.
So again, we're again fighting straw figures again because we're fighting people that we don't trust the answers. So we're fighting things we can't put a thumb on.
Mary.
Yeah.
If an organization is making billions of dollars a year, but they all show that they're losing money, I'm going to go with common sense more than I'm going to go with anybody's numbers that have a dog in this fight.
Okay. So here's my antidotal argument to the previous point you made, and it comes in here too. Okay, so when I was going to school, I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep bringing the University of Idaho in here because I do know more about other sports, but I'll use this as the antidote. Okay.
Washington State.
It's a good place to party, I hear. I don't partake.
George Raveling, yep. Moscow at the age of 18. We used to go to George Raveling.
Yep, they did. Yep.
And we go over to Moscow because you could drink at 18 there. And we leave George Raveling's basketball camp, and we go there and party in Moscow. And pray to God we get pulled over by some state trooper in Idaho. Because God knows where we end up afterwards.
Anyways, so at the University of Idaho, while I was going there, we went to a bowl game, right? We won our bowl game. Huge, exciting, right? And we were talking about it because I was on the coaching staff at the swim program at the time. We were talking about what that meant, right? How much money they were going to earn, how much money the WAC earned, all this stuff. The football team lost money on that transaction because of the cost it took them to get to the bowl game, the cost it took them to get home from the bowl game, the cost it took to keep them up at the bowl game, and the cost that it took for the rings that they bought after winning the bowl game. The University of Idaho football program lost money after all of those things you said.
But Mary, the NCAA made money off of it.
Mike, wait. Whoa. Mike, Mary, can I ask you one simple question? Do you know how much money the athletic department made off that? We know the football team may have shown that they lost money.
The athletic department. Because we were talking about that. None of the other teams. No, because we were talking about that. None of the other teams were going to get money from the win because the athletic department had not made enough money to get it to the other teams because they had to bail out the football program.
Mary, they had not shown that they had made enough money, so they didn't have to fund the rest of the teams. Come on, Mary.
Okay, so again,
really
you find out
Is this your best argument? This really your
Oh,
best
I'm
argument.
sorry. Would you like me to argue with just like whatever I think instead of facts and knowledge and these kind of things? I mean, I don't know how
I
to
think you'd
argue any
probably
other way.
I think you'd probably be doing better for yourself if you did, just with what you know and what you
Oh,
believe.
I feel like I'm winning this.
Facts that are
So
presented.
I feel like I'm winning.
Well, you go
You'll
ahead.
have to ask. You'll
All right,
have to
Mike,
ask the
let's
people
move on.
listening.
Mike, let's move on here because we're not going to win this. We're not going to finish this debate. Mary, basically, the NCAA is making a ton of money. The universities are making a ton of money. They're
But you
hiring
don't.
it. They're burying
You're
it.
saying that, but
They're
there's
putting
no
it in
actual
facilities.
proof to say that. Again.
Wait a second.
Well, I
All right,
think you look at
Mary,
the
how about
buildings and
this?
complexes and the,
Oh, we're
There is
going back.
Because you just said there was, Mary. You said there was.
You just said there was. And Mary, basically every NFL, a professional sports team, what facilities do they use to practice in?
College teams.
College facilities, because they're the nicest
Yeah,
in the world.
and those are super
UCLA
inexpensive to keep up. I believe football programs have 26.6%
And they're keeping them up.
increase in the amount of
You can't find
revenue
a
they've had
bigger-
from 2011 to 2013. But
Yeah,
again, we
Mary.
reject those stats
Okay.
because they're coming from
Mary,
NCAA.org.
Mary,
Let's go
you
on to this.
said
We're-
that your
we're done here.
NCAA facts you don't trust anyways.
No, I did not say
Yeah,
I don't
you
trust
did.
them. I
Because
did not
I
say that at all.
asked you-
No, I said I believe
asked
the
you,
organization.
so
No,
you're gonna keep
I
talking.
believe the
This is
organization
how I
is
know I'm
corrupt,
winning.
but I believe these numbers. I believe the organization is corrupt, but I believe these numbers.
Once
Those
again,
let me
two
say
things
this,
are not
Mike.
mutually exclusive.
yeah, they are. Because how about this?
They
What
are.
about
They are
What about the
mutually
University of North Carolina?
Okay.
Why aren't they on
They are in
probation?
Chapel
Why
Hill.
didn't they get the death penalty? They're not in trouble.
They admitted they
Oh,
cheated.
no, I said I believe it is corrupt, right?
Yeah.
What Miami University football has done is 100 times worse than what SMU did, and they still exist.
What
So, yeah,
Miami
I-
So
do?
you're saying they
So,
selectively
I believe-
choose what they're corrupt in?
Yes, I
Yeah.
do. I do.
Exactly.
That's good.
Because
Okay.
SMU doesn't bring in the
They're not
money that the
selectively
Miami
corrupt.
Hurricanes brought in.
No, I
right,
mean,
let's
I have
move
my
on.
own opinions on one. SMU got the
Let's move on.
but that's a completely
Mary,
different
I'm gonna
debate.
tell you right
Yeah.
now, all the athletic departments in college athletics are doing fine. They're making money.
Okay,
Some are
there's
making
no,
more money than
and I
others.
will just answer with
They're
that. There
all
is actually
operating.
no proof to. There is no proof to that statement. You can say it,
Mary, the
but there
proof
is
is-
no
Mary,
statistical numbers to
Mary.
prove that.
Mary, the proof is not one athletic department has gone out of business. There's not been one athletic
Talk to the
department.
University of Idaho. They're about to lose 3 teams. Talk to
Idaho.
UAB. They lost their
Still
football
operating.
program. Talk
UAB 's
to
playing
Clemson, who
football.
lost their swim program. Talk to University of Washington, who lost 2 swim programs after finishing 10th at NCAAs. To say they're not
Because
losing, though, is just saying you're only paying attention to 2 sports.
Well,
No,
this is the
No,
thing.
They're putting their money where their most revenue possibilities are, which is what anybody would do. Put my resources where I'm going to make the greatest return on my investment. That's basic general business. Ask your NBA husband that question. You go to the-
let's
you
go
go
there
to
because
the
I think
place where-
I think that's an important thing to say. I think that's an important point because I think that's being honest. You think you should get rid of all of the sports that do not
I
make
don't think
money.
Get rid of any sport. I think the money's out there to
Oh
fund every
no!
sport.
You
I think
just
they're
said
funding it.
you make to keep
No, I
the
did
sports
not.
that make money, and I'm saying
No.
I'm not saying I think that's an intellectually honest opinion to have. That is an honest
Mary, that's not
opinion
what
to
I
have.
said. That's not what I said, Mary.
Okay.
I think that the NCAA has the money to fund every sport. My son was a D3 player. He bought his own shoes. Okay, he bought his own practice equipment. He did not get an athletic scholarship, yet the NCAA 3 division finals are shown on ESPN, paid for to be licensed through ESPN. He had to buy his own equipment to play college football at a D3 school. Why are D3 athletes not getting funded the same as D2 or D1? Are they lesser citizens of this country? Or what? The money's there.
So do you think they have a
NCAA
right?
takes it in.
Okay, so that's really interesting. Do you think he has a right to free shoot? I mean, because he plays football?
He has the same right that Alabama has, doesn't he? He's an NCAA athlete. Why you don't want to
Interesting.
differentiate? That's your whole story. You think Idaho should get what Alabama gets? Bullshit.
No. Oh, I have not. Oh no, I have not made that argument not once. I do not believe that.
So you think that the
do
Division
not
III
believe that at all.
athlete is entitled to the shoes or not?
No, I don't. I
Who,
don't
me?
believe.
I think my
I don't
son-
believe.
No, I'm not talking to
I
you,
don't believe
Steve. I'm
anybody's
talking to
entitled
Mary.
to anything.
spent
I don't believe that is an
$200
entitlement for
football
anything.
fees for my son that he had to pay for his own
Okay.
medical expenses. They had to have my insurance card before Ross could play football at Wittenberg. They didn't pay for any of his health care. If I didn't get it covered, he didn't get fixed.
Really?
Oh, he got a football injury? I'm sorry, your health care doesn't cover that injury. You're screwed. Paid out of your pocket.
So
you get the privilege of playing D3.
We dealt with. And
by the way, the NCAA Division III finals are on ESPN. We licensed that out. We're making a profit off that.
Yeah, they do pretty good ratings too.
Yeah, yeah. The Amos Alonzo Stag Bowl. You ever heard of it, Mary? It's pretty big event.
I have never heard of it.
There you go. Well, you know what? Do your homework, Dave.
You are kidding, right?
Okay.
You are kidding, right?
Do your homework.
Mary, you are kidding.
You watch Division III football?
Yeah, I do.
Let's get off of this. Yeah, it is an important part.
Okay. Yeah, who won NCAA men's swimming event this year? Who won? Do your homework.
Texas and Stanford.
I don't even know who won the Amos Alonzo Stag Bowl this year. It's the fact that it's an event that was broadcast.
You know, because you read my article. There you go.
You're really assuming something if you assume I read anybody's articles. It goes to my editor, and then I read
anybody's article.
You're assuming I can read, Mary.
Oh, that's so funny.
I actually have an editor. When I want to write a story, I just talk to him over the phone, and he writes it. So, no, I do know. Right. I know Stanford and Texas.
Mary, let's move on. Mary, let's put that one to bed. Let's move on. I think that
I enjoyed it heartily.
For the amount of effort they're putting into it. Here's why. Okay, the amount of profit that's being generated, revenue that's being generated now, is far beyond what the amount of a college scholarship is. Now, remember, when we talk college scholarships, you threw out numbers like 38,000, 25,000. That's what the university sells scholarships for. That's not what the cost is to that university, okay? They own the buildings. They own the dormitories. The professors are already hired. So to bring Romeo Langford into Indiana University basically is going to cost Indiana peanuts at best, all right? Because the building's already there. The building's already paid for. They're paid for by the state of Indiana. Yet Romeo Langford, who is one of the top uncommitted recruits in college basketball left in this country, is going to generate megabucks for that university in terms of advertising dollars, in terms of licensing fees for tickets, in terms of season ticket sales, in terms of shoe contracts, better shoe contracts, yada, 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 yada. So that $38,000 number is a myth. That's the myth, because that's what they sell that scholarship for. That's not what they pay for that scholarship. So they're probably paying maybe $10,000, $15,000. I can't even throw a number on it. It's so obscure to me that what it's going to cost to put Romeo Langford at Indiana University or at University of Kansas or at Vanderbilt. Now, Vanderbilt may be different because it's a private school. So that may be in a different world. I don't know the private schools as well because they keep themselves pretty quiet. They just say, we'll go about making our money. We're happy. Notre Dame says, we don't want to screw with anybody. We just keep being a cash cow. And we're just a big cash cow. We'll sit out here in La La Land and make a lot of money. All right? And do what we want to do because we're Notre Dame. We can. All right? But Indiana, it's got to answer to some people. So, but they're out there. But yet, so now the revenue input has come usually into Indiana if, say, Romeo Langford comes. It's increased. Yet, what does Romeo Langford get for his presence as he gets a scholarship? Wonderful. How, I would get that 50% of the kids in Indiana are on some form of scholarship. They're on some half kids at IU are on some form of scholarship. They get something from somebody. They're getting scholarship money. Everybody gets scholarship money.
Okay, so I don't even know what to say to that part, that everybody gets scholarship money, because there are millions and millions and millions of people with millions of dollars worth of student debt. I mean, student debt is a huge problem that we're talking about with our country right now, right? It's a huge thing that was part of the last presidential cycle, what to do with student debt.
Where are you going with it?
Well, what I'm saying is that it's nonsense to say that there is all this, that people are just getting scholarships and and school is so easy to college education is so easy to afford, because that's nonsense. Like, if you look at this outside of the sporting world, college education is worth a lot of money. My other point that I have to say about what you said is, you said that they don't actually pay that money. I'm a little confused what you said. You said that they sell the scholarship for something, but that's not actually what it's worth, which actually isn't the way scholarships work.
What it costs.
I'm sorry, please.
There's
So what do you mean by what it costs? You're saying for every athlete that sits in on a college professor, that athlete isn't paying that professor. All the other students are paying for that professor, but the college athlete isn't paying for that professor. Is that what you're saying?
Mary, have you ever used eBay? Have you ever bought something on eBay? Yes or no?
I am not. I'm a millennial.
Okay,
that was like
right.
way before me.
If you know that I go buy a Callaway golf shirt from the Callaway Golf Shop online, I pay $97. I bought the same shirt 2 days ago on eBay for $17. The exact same golf shirt.
Okay.
That's called markup, Mary. Markup.
Okay.
It's markup.
I know what markup is.
Mark up their athletic scholarships, Mary, and they will say, this is what we're going to sell it for. This is where our profit margin. We're going to make a profit, because universities are a for-profit organization. Despite what they want you to
I reject that whole notion, because athletic departments have their money that you. I'm saying I am exactly what you said the last time we had this argument where you rejected my numbers. I'm rejecting what you're saying, because athletic departments actually pay the housing department.
I'm throwing concepts out there.
Right? No, that's what I'm saying.
Talk to your husband. Talk to your husband.
I'm sorry. I don't need to talk to my husband. I'm a smart, capable individual who can think for myself. Okay, because the athletic department pays the housing department for those rooms. Those rooms don't just sit empty. There's actually a check that goes from the athletic department to the housing department. They don't just say, "Here's an athletic room. Why don't you have it?" It doesn't happen that. Have you ever worked at the? You said you coached, right? You coached at Indiana, didn't you? Didn't I hear that you coached? Haven't you worked in higher education? Right? Didn't you say you worked in higher education at one point?
No, I did not work in higher education.
Okay, so I worked. Okay, I apologize. So I worked in college. I worked in two places. I worked in the athletic department. Okay, so I worked in the athletic department, and I also worked at the housing department. And guess what? The housing department and every other department on campus hate the athletic department because of these kind of things.
Transition. It's a charge-off, Mary. It's a basic charge-off. It's a number that's given to them that they charge off this. You have 12 athletes staying in dorms. The athletic department charges off the university these amount of fees for the student athletes staying in the dormitories.
Where is your source on that? Where is your source on that?
Mary, I got the checks. I went
through
the whole process for 4 years.
That's your source if you lived
Mary,
it?
I played it on you. I saw how the process happened.
Right.
I went to business school while it was going on. Anyway, that's not relevant. I mean, it's really, you're not getting the big picture, and you're not getting the big picture. The cost of putting a college athlete through a university, such as Indiana, is not near what they will project it out to be. That's what it sells for. That's a manufacturer suggested retail selling price. Is what
you mean? That's the price that every other student has to pay. The athletic department doesn't have to pay it.
To dunk a basketball for dear old IU will pay. Exactly. Less minus scholarship or academic fee. So this is your
point. This is your point. Your point is that because that person can dunk a basketball, they are more valuable than any other person on campus.
What do you think, Mary? Let me ask you what you think.
You think that? You really think that? Oh my goodness, that's very interesting. Okay. Interesting.
Mary, let me give you another example.
You think that somebody's a basketball player there's more valuable than any other player? I mean, that's very interesting.
I did not say that, Mary. You're putting words in my mouth again, Mary. I'm telling you right now. When Butler went back-to-back in the Final Four, Butler University went back-to-back in the Final Four, got the championship game 2 years in a row, the president of Butler University came out and said, this has been the biggest windfall and boon for Butler University in the history of this college. We have generated more applicants, more revenue, more anything. So you're telling me that Joe Blow on the corner is not worth more than any one single member of that basketball program for that university at that given time. You're telling me that, right? When he specifically said this basketball program generated this kind of interest in our university and brought more revenue in, more applicants. We could raise our fees now. We have a waiting list now. Thank you, basketball team. But yet, Susie Homemaker or Susie or John Q. Public that's going there, who is a great student, a great person, not to be denied in any way, shape, or form, but what value is he bringing to the university that a member of the basketball team is bringing?
Well, he might be bringing the value that he turns into a tech millionaire and pays all those salaries, where the Butler basketball players,
Oh, Mike, I'm about done. I'm about done, Mike.
Well, this is the thing, Mary. You ever hear of the Flutie effect?
The Flutie effect?
Yeah.
No. I assume what it is, but go ahead and explain.
You've heard of
go
Doug
ahead and
Flutie,
tell me what you say the Flutie.
Doug Flutie, it's not what I think it is. It's what it is. The Doug Flutie effect, because Boston College called it this. After Doug Flutie played there, their admissions saw a huge uptick for 10 years. Not just a year or two.
No, I'm a huge advocate of collegiate sports for that exact reason. I think collegiate sports bring people and make their program more prestigious. But what's the most prestigious school in the United States?
The program, right?
No. What's the most prestigious school in the United States? What's the most prestigious school in the United States?
MIT.
Okay. I was going to say Harvard. I'll say Caltech. And what's their athletic departments look like?
I personally think it's Indiana.
You think it's Indiana?
I personally think it's Indiana
I'll
State.
say it's SMU.
I say it's Indiana State.
That's a good school, too. Can't argue SMU. Can't go wrong there.
What about Indiana State, Steve? Are you saying Indiana State's not a good school?
No, Indiana State, no way.
Kicked Indiana's ass this year.
Ireland, they're all good.
No, Indiana State's really not. They let me in, Steve.
Anyway.
But
all right, let's get off this subject here, because we got listeners, and I want to address this issue of paying players for athletes and this whole misnomer of paying college athletes and things like that. I want to get this off my chest first of all. So, Mary, I'm going to take the floor right now, and you can rebut me when you want to. I don't think college athletes should just be paid a salary like the NBA. I think that's dead wrong. Here's what I do. What is the name of a person who goes to college to play sports? What is he called by the NCAA? What does the NCAA call that person? Mary?
Oh, are you asking me? I'm sorry, student athlete. I thought you were on your student athlete. Student
athlete. Student athlete. Right, exactly. So here's my proposal. The NCAA takes an arbitrary amount of money. Now we start small because we can't build Rome in a day. All right. So we'll start with revenue-producing sports because that's the easiest source to get income to fund this project. Okay, that's the easiest source. We're not depleting non-revenue-producing sports at this point in time. Although I think with streaming, they'll all become revenue-producing sports eventually. But right now, let's just go there. Let's experiment with it. Let's just play small for a while and go. Let's do this, Mary. Let's take an arbitrary amount of money. And just for math, because I do good with fives, I'm going to use $5,000. All right, it's just a number. Don't hold me to the number. I didn't research this number.
Can I ask you a question?
No.
Okay, can I ask you? Okay, sorry.
No.
Go ahead.
Okay, so we're going to say that every year that a college scholarship athlete comes to the university, be it Idaho or Indiana, and progresses 15 credit hours toward every semester he gets $5,000 put into a money market CD for him. All right? And then the next semester, he gets another $5,000. So that when he graduates, either in 4 years or a lot of athletes redshirt, so we'll give him 5 years, 4 or 5 years, at the end of his graduation, when he gets a degree, he gets his degree, and because of his contributions back to the university, to the athletic department, through representing and raising funds and raising revenues and everything, he gets a check for $20,000 or $25,000. He doesn't get it while he's playing there, but that money is being put aside for him so that athlete can come out. Now, you're all worried about the Isaiah Thomases of the world, the Magic Johnsons, the stars. They're going to get millions of dollars anyway playing in the NBA. Forget them. Let's take a Steve Risley, who didn't get that opportunity. If I had $25,000 coming out of college with my degree in business at Indiana, maybe I could have started up a business. Maybe I could have bought a home. Maybe I could have killed myself with cocaine. I could have done any number of things with that money. But I have a chance now based on what I've committed back above and beyond to the university of just being a student at that university. I now have a nest egg that's paid back to me for my commitment to that university over a course of period of time. It's not an exorbitantly large number of money. You're not going to go buy a $10 million house in Beverly Hills, all right? But you're going to have some money to take your education, because you are a student athlete, and you're going to take that money and you're going to apply it. And we're going to give you a little jump start because you gave back to the university higher and above. You know, Mary, in 4 years in Indiana, I never went to spring break. I spent no more than, by 10 o'clock every Christmas morning, I was on my way back to Assembly Hall to go to practice because we had a tournament to play in somewhere else that week between Christmas and New Year's. So we got to spend Christmas morning with our family. Then we drove back, and we had 2 practices on Christmas Day. The entire 4 years I was at Indiana. My choice, not a gun put to my head. It's what I wanted to do. But these kids make sacrifices above and beyond what normal students do every single day of their lives. They have academic standards they have to live by. They're not allowed to make money during the course of a college season. There's the story of a player one time, and I'm not going to name names because I don't want to name names, that basically had a child while he was in high school with his girlfriend, married her, and could not make money during basketball season because he couldn't work by the NCAA rules. They were on food stamps, yet they were selling this player's jersey with his name on the jersey in the bookstore for $150 a jersey. He couldn't afford to buy his own jersey. He couldn't afford to buy his own jersey because he was on food stamps. Okay? That's the NCAA. That worked for you. Thank you. You're really looking out for me. In the meantime, you're getting hospitality left and right. You're taking profit. You're making this. You're making all this money left and right. So, yeah, pay the athletes. And I'm going to tell you what's going to happen, Mary. Here's what's going to happen. Look at the MLBA PA. Look at the NFL PA. Look at the NBA PA. Somebody's going to get smart and go to these athletes and say, you know what? I can get you money. I got a good organization. I can go challenge it. Unionize with me. It happened with the steel workers, happened with the auto workers, happened with every facet of industry in the world. The factory workers came out and said, we unite. And then the NCAA is just going to have their butts so far up their heads, they're not going to know what to do. Because you know what? Here's what happens, Mary. The players can play without the NCAA. The NCAA can't exist without the players. It's as simple as that. You understand that? It's as simple as that. The NCAA doesn't exist without the 450,000 student athletes that are participating in college athletics. Yet the players can get somebody who organizes the labor unions and all professional sports. Hey, we already have an existing business model. We can lay this right down to you. Here, go, boom. We're making money next year. We're striking. No college basketball next year. Oh, there goes the $900 million basketball contract. Oh, there goes all the advertising. There goes everything. It's all gone. So you better start looking at ways to solve. It's called a paradigm shift, Mary. It's a paradigm shift. It's evolving right now. It's coming out. And as long as you and everybody in the NCAA wants to hold back and say college athletes shouldn't be compensated or part of a profit-sharing plan or salaried or however you want to do it, you're really just getting behind the 8 ball in a huge way. All right? It will not happen tomorrow. It will not happen next season. But within 10 years from now, the landscape will be so dramatically different because what I'm saying, there are smart people saying what I'm saying. I'm not smart. They're saying the same thing. And they're going to figure it out. And they're going to do it. And you're going to have the NCAA, Players Association, college athletes, whatever the acronym is for it. They're going to be a union just like everything else, and it's going to happen. It's going to happen. So you better get on board right now. You better start doling out this money that you're hiding, that you're burying, that you're taking in through anonymous donors, this, that, there, here, there, and where. And you better start making everybody happy. So as soon as somebody's unhappy, they go rogue. They go rogue, you got problems. What's your rebuttal, Mary?
What's my what?
Rebuttal.
My rebuttal to that? I mean, you and I are just coming from two different planes, right? We're coming from two different set of facts. We're coming from two separate set of priorities. Yeah, I think I think you're right. I think we are headed towards paying players, and I think it's the downfall of college athletics. I think we may have hit the pinnacle of college athletics.
Why is it the downfall of college athletics? Explain to me why it's the downfall of college athletics.
Okay.
Why is it the downfall?
Okay, so there's two things. Two big problems with playing college athletics. There's lots of big problems, but two things that I see from your point of view. Okay, so if you pay a male player, you have to pay a female. Okay, so which female teams get picked?
Did I discriminate? I never said anything about.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
It's one of the most profitable organizations.
No, you didn't.
Sports organizations in college sports there is. I would think they've got.
Which one?
University of Connecticut women's basketball program, 12 NCAA.
It is not.
University of Connecticut.
It's not.
Women's basketball program.
Yes, I know.
Mike, 12, 13 NCAA championship.
Yeah, they are. They're still not super.
UConn's women's basketball program. Don't tell me you haven't heard of UConn's women's basketball program.
Okay, you're being a little condescending. Of course, I've heard of UNC or UConn's basketball program. Okay, but what I'm telling you is they're not profitable. Gino Auriemma.
You know that for a fact. They're not profitable. They sell out.
I do not know for a fact, but I did do the research on men's basketball. I'm trying to think. Let's see.
You didn't look at women's.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to find it quickly. Yeah, of course I looked at college athletics, women's college athletics. How many made money?
All right. Whatever.
I'm trying to remember where it is. But I shouldn't even give you numbers because you rejected them when I gave them to you. You said that you didn't trust my source.
I think UConn's women's basketball program is probably as profitable as Duke in terms of money brought in by the players.
Okay, so you've never been to a UConn's women's basketball game.
Might be different, but I'm telling you, that's as solid a basketball program as there is in the United States of America, men or women, is UConn's women's basketball program. Not more solid. Best college record, most championships, most wins. I mean, my gosh, you can't find. That's the model by which every college basketball program should be run by. Is UConn's women's basketball program? That's
I'm literally
pinnacle.
Yeah, of course, they're a great program. You're not going to catch me saying anything negative about UConn as a basketball team. I'm telling you, they're not profitable.
Not my
intent, hey, real quick, I got the numbers. I'm
sitting here looking at it. I'm Googling it. What's the numbers?
Yeah, I've got that they took in 10.
They got $4 million in revenue.
They cleared $4 million.
Okay.
They cleared $4 million.
That's in 2011.
So I hear that they had mine is based off of 2016. They had $6.7 million in expenses and $4 million in revenue.
Yeah.
So that is a $2 million loss.
They made $6 million.
I don't have a degree in math, but that's a $2 million loss.
Right. No, pull up the charge-offs for revenue or for expenses. Pull up the charge-offs and see what they are. You can't do it. They're not there because they won't publicly make those available to you. But the charge-offs are ways to bury the money so they don't have to pay taxes on it, so they don't have to
write it off. It's really easy to make to make a debate if you just call fraud every time somebody gives you a number.
Mary, but this is the thing. Any business or organization that does taxes is doing that. That's how we can say
charge off.
I mean, I'm not saying that I would, fudge numbers, but whatever I'm making, I'm not showing I'm making that. That would be stupid.
You're getting deductions, you're getting write-offs, you're getting everything. It's a numbers game, Mary. It's not the real world. The UConn's women's basketball team is doing fine. They're bringing in a lot of money.
They're losing $2 million.
Well, they made $6 million in 2011.
University of Connecticut.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's even bigger now. So anyway, I think the athletes should get some type of profit-sharing plan, and I don't think they should get it while they're in school. I think it should be a dangling carrot held out over their heads so that they get their degree. Because you know what? You're right. Less than 1% of all athletes ever go on to make a living being a professional athlete. And most of that comes from basketball, football, and baseball. I give you that.
Actually, it's baseball.
Most of that comes from football is the biggest one. Then basketball.
Golf also has a really high percentage as well.
Golf has high, but those are, exactly. That's an individual sport where you just got to have the moxie to play that game. Anyway, it's not a team sport where you go on a part of the team and start winning championships with the Patriots. It's a different thing. However, they should get some kind of dangling carrot based on the amount of money that I believe is out there they should get some kind of damn carrot to incentivize them to go get their degree. Because you know what? This is a golden opportunity, Mary. Getting your free education. I know that I did not have to pay for my education. When I got out of college, my friends were figuring out ways to pay off their student loans. I wasn't because I got the privilege of playing at Indiana and getting a full ride scholarship because of my talents and my abilities and what I brought to the table.
And your hard work.
I got that.
Yeah.
Hard work. I'm grateful for that. But by the same token,
it wasn't enough. Your point is it wasn't enough to you. You feel like you deserved more.
It's not. It was to me in 1981, based on the amount of money I know that was brought in, but not today.
Okay.
Not with the
okay.
internet,
So can I have my rebuttal time?
Media.
Yeah. So this is what I'm totally on board with you with. I think they should not be allowed to use a player's likeness or number or jersey. That should not be able to be sold because I'm with you 100%. That belongs to the athlete. And I don't think anybody should be making money. If we're saying the athlete can't make money off of it, I think you should say nobody should make money off of it. The NCAA can't use it.
Everybody should,
ESPN.
Everybody should make money.
So you could say that. I'm going to take it from the reverse side that nobody can. I think it should be off limits. I mean, you could do that.
Mary. Everybody's getting a cut of that pie.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. A change should be is they should not be able to use that. I realize they are able to use it now. I am proposing they should not be able to use it now. That is my proposition. Okay.
So if I came to you and said I'd sponsor you for $100,000, I'm sorry.
I find it interesting that my opinion nobody's going to do, but I listened to your opinion with I felt like quite a bit of respect, even though I found many flaws in your philosophy. But that's fine.
Go ahead. I'll shut up.
Yeah, thank you. I would never say it that way. But anyways. So I think I'm with you that I think that is wrong, that nobody should be making money off of that athlete in that personal of a way. But I also reject the notion that I don't think players, collegiate athletes are getting their due. And this is the problem why I'm saying that. And a lot of it comes from a little bit of a bias coming from the lower, one of the less non-revenue sports, okay? Because the non-revenue sports live off of donations, right? They live off of what people are paying to the boosters, right? And if we start paying the college athletes, we're going to hit even more of a hierarchy than we already have in college athletics. And it's going to come at the price of men's wrestling. It's going to come at the price of men's tennis. It's going to come at the price of men's swimming and diving. And after those programs, which got cut by the hundreds. I just read an article about this today. Cut by 100 after Title IX was implemented. All of these men programs got cut because they couldn't afford to pay them and women's swimming, right? If we then continue that same part of paying now just the sports that make money, right? Paying the basketball and the football, and that's it, because they're the only ones that make money, then we're going to lose women's swimming. We're going to lose track and field. We're going to lose soccer. We're going to lose hockey. We are going to lose rowing. All of these non-revenue sports that make up the majority of athletic department athletes and sports are going to get lost. The best argument I actually saw was a Deadspin article if you're going to go this whole way, if we're going to go the way you want to go of paying athletes, a guy named Patrick Herbie on Deadspin he just said, let's go full free market. Just go full free market. Get rid of all scholarships and just pay players exactly who you want when you want them. If we're going to do that, let's go that way. Let's just pay them. Let's just make it a professional sports team at the collegiate level, because that's the only fair way to do it. Because this way of doing it is going to profit the big programs. It's going to profit the big teams, and it's going to profit at the expense of small programs and small teams. And so if that's the way we're going to go, just realize that you're doing it at the expense of the University of Idaho's, the UTEPs, the New Mexico States, the Texas State. These small programs are the ones that are going to pay the price for that. And because if you're trying to say that we should do this and then all of a sudden the NCAA is going to stop being corrupt, that's naive, right? The NCAA is corrupt, so we can get rid of it and go to a full free market system with no rules, or we can play within a corrupt system and try to keep the fairness as much as we can. And that's why I fear if you start playing players, if you start adding more money to this pot, there's only more corruption. It's only going to come at the expense of the teams that are not on ESPN. And those are the people that are using their scholarships the way they're meant to be. They're not using their scholarships to go on and play college or NBA basketball. They're using their scholarships to be doctors, to be lawyers, to be teachers, to be to be great citizens of the state in which they're getting their education.
Hey,
and those are the people that are going to pay the price by the way you go.
Real quick, this is my question. Okay. Yeah. Like I said, I don't trust the NCAA, but what I do trust is this. I think that Steve's idea is actually great because it makes sure you have student athletes if they want to get the money. They got 20, 25 grand when they get out. And I don't see why the schools can't pay this because this is the thing. Idaho State's program may be losing money, but right now, the net assets at the end of this year, do you know what the net assets for Idaho State University were at the end of 2016?
I don't follow Idaho State because they're the potato mashers and they're irrelevant. But go ahead.
This. You brought up Idaho State. But the net assets...
No, the University of Idaho.
Okay, so Idaho's the one that's folding their programs?
University of Idaho, yeah.
Okay. But just
Mike,
Idaho State.
Idaho State isn't in Division One. Idaho State. Oh no, it is Division One.
This is my point, though. Idaho State's not Division One. Last year, at the start of the school year, they had net assets of $154 million. At the end of the year,
what does that mean? Their facility?
They had This is how much the school
net assets. What the school is worth.
The school is worth $174 million. Now, here's the other thing.
After everything was paid.
The University of Connecticut, all right, in 2001 was bringing in $164 million a year. In the meantime, they won 2 national championships. Their enrollment went up 17,000 over the next 10 years. After they won the second national championship, that school's net assets were $385 million. Now, this is the thing. We can talk about these athletic programs are losing money. Now, this is the thing. I think this. If women's rowing, men's wrestling made money, I think that these schools would make sure that these programs kept going. These programs, they don't care. They care about men's basketball. They care about, football.
And men's football.
They care about 3 or 4 programs that play. I'm sure UConn cares about UConn's program, their women's basketball program, because it's better than men's now. But the thing is this. That's all they care about because that's what makes the money. If you were to force these people to pay this money.
So you want to.
Well, hell. All right. You both can talk the whole freaking show, and I'll just be interrupted.
Sorry, buddy.
So you just go ahead and talk. No, because this is the one thing I do know. All right? I didn't come into this trying to win an argument. I came in trying to get my point across, and you came on this show, and you're like, I think I'm winning the argument. That is not what this is about. You can laugh all you want, but as I get older, the one thing I know is this. The only way you can learn anything is to listen. It's not by talking. And when you try to talk over people, as far as I'm concerned, if you want to go winner or loser of argument, you've lost the argument. My point is this. When you got a school that has a net worth that's $300 million, why can't they just pay the scholarship athletes $5,000? Because the thing is this. You may have a point if all of a sudden they cut it back to where you can only practice 1 hour a day and you let these guys have jobs. But the other thing you're going to do is $25,000 may not sound like much, but you might have a junior that is broke as hell, scholarship or not. He's broke. He needs money. And the NBA tells him, well, you might go at the end of the first round, but you'll probably go in the second round. And he takes a chance. And the only way you get guaranteed money in the NBA is to go in the first round. Without that, chances are you're not making a team and you're not getting paid. Maybe this kid says, man, if I stick it out one more year, I get $25,000. But the thing is this, he's thinking I get $25,000. But at the end of all of this, he has a degree in $25,000. And I think this, when you talk about poor black kids, poor white kids, poor Mexican kids, poor whatever the hell it is, you actually give them a chance then. Right now, we're in a system where Dexter Manley, who won a couple Super Bowls with the Washington Redskins, graduated from Oklahoma State and couldn't read. And I think the solution that needs to be found here is not with the NCAA because it's corrupt. There is not a college in America, my guess, especially to Division I level, that's hemorrhaging or losing money as a whole. And the thing is this, these programs are what bring it in. You know, if you look at Xavier University, they've been, in 1983, I think there were like 2,000 students, private individual or private institution. Today, they're like 3 to 4 times that. You don't think that that has something to do with a basketball team that's in the tournament every year? And I would also say this, if Indiana University had Bobby Knight from 2001 to 2012 and won another national championship, they would be number one on how much money they were worth. Because when people see that, it's like Steve talked with Butler. They saw an influx of 35, 40% more students after this, or more applications to choose from. So the school needs to bear some responsibility if these other smaller programs are going under. Because I think that whether you're a swimmer or a tennis player or whatever you are, you have a right to compete for that school because that school's got enough money to fund it. And let's face it, these schools are charging way too much money. I think we've got one of the very few democracies where you even have to pay to go to college. So, I mean, yeah, they could give something back here. And let's face it, if you're talking about basketball and football, you got a lot of inner city kids. You throw that carrot at the end, maybe they stay in school that extra year and get a degree so they can get that $25,000. And I think in the end, that's what everybody wants, is for the kids that don't go to the NBA or the NFL to be taken care of, not taken advantage of. One of you may talk now.
And now we have silence. Well put,
Nice.
Mike. Well, very well put. Well said.
But I mean,
it's an advantage.
When you've got entities making this much money, and see, this is the thing, Mary and Steve. I sat here and listened to both of you. I understood both of your points. Both of your points made sense. But I think in the big picture, we're missing the people that are the biggest money grubbers here, which are the people that run these institutions and charge people $50,000 to get an education. And Mary, it's great to have a college education, but it's damn near a Ponzi scheme anymore. You got to work forever to pay it off. It is. I mean, right now, I've got 2 sons that are homeschooled. They both, you know, will be able to get scholarships to major sports probably. They've had offers. But the thing is this, even if they don't, our plan for them, for me educating them, was at 18, you know, one of them wants to be a welder, one of them wants to be a plumber. And the thing is, you become a Boilermaker with the one, you become licensed with both of them, and by the time you're 22, when most people are graduating and having to pay these bills, you're already making $25, $30 an hour. So I think I think people...
I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I'm right with you there.
I think that people are missing a lot in this entire argument. And I think this is more about the kids that are underprivileged that get used by schools. You know, North Carolina, they let kids get away with not going to real classes because they let other students do it too. So the NCAA said there's no violation, even though they were fake classes, because everybody got to go. I mean, you've got guys that are being paid by state institutions that are bringing in strippers, hookers, and everything else. I mean, Steve can tell you stories about what he was offered in 1976 or 77.
Oh, don't tell me. Don't tell me.
And the thing is
I'm a good girl.
And the thing is this, they offer money, they offer cars to all these guys. I've interviewed tons of guys that played in college athletes. All right? I went to Indiana State, not a big deal, hell. Nobody cared what we did. But just like nobody cared what anybody does at Idaho. But the thing is this, Idaho and Indiana State still make a shitload of money, Mary. They make a shitload of money.
I'm about to say the exact same thing I said through the whole hour, so I will pass that there is not statistical evidence to prove that point. But
there is.
At an impasse on that point.
Now, see, you are giving an argument. I'm sitting here looking at the Idaho State University annual report. I challenge you to give me a Division I school that's losing money. Just losing money overall. And the thing is this, the big picture that's missed here is this. You know, why shouldn't the school have the fun part of this? Because Indiana University, I guarantee you, in 1970, before Bobby Knight got there, did not have near the amount of kids in that school as they did in 1988 after they won 3 national championships. And I think to sit there and say that that doesn't count, the schools shouldn't have to pay for that, and pay these kids that brought that to them is crazy. I mean, if you look at the University of Maryland at Baltimore County, I guarantee you their admissions went up big time.
I'm sure.
So why can't that money go to the athletic department? Not even counting the corrupt NCAA that Steve thinks is hiding money, that I know is hiding money just because of the way they've conducted business. But let's take that out. Let's say your numbers are true. If your numbers are true, these schools could make up that amount of money relatively easy. If there's $811 million in losses, and there's 335 Division I schools, and they're all worth over $100 million, you drop $2 million each one of you, and you've just covered the debt. And everybody gets to play, and nobody gets left out, and nobody from Idaho State or Idaho State has to transfer to, like, God forbid, the University of Kentucky or something. I always have to Kentucky University. But this is my point. I think that everybody misses the point here about the amount of money that is brought into these schools because of the athletic teams.
I agree. I agree with you. No, I agree with you on that point. That athletic programs are a source of advertising for their universities. I'm a huge advocate of athletic departments, right? Like, there are certainly talks on university campuses about how athletic departments are a leech on the universities, and I do not stand in that camp. I think they, exactly like you said, they are the greatest place of advertising and prestige raising in the eyes of the American public. And I'm totally on your camp.
Do you not agree that brings a lot of money to these schools and admissions and people that want to go there?
Yes, I do.
All right. So
I do agree. I don't know what a lot is. I do think it brings more, and I do think they get it. They get more than the average athlete or average student. They get their school paid for. That's like $40,000 more than the most students get.
Big deal. I mean,
I think that's a big deal. That was a big deal when I got paid.
I mean, you may, but this is the thing. Nobody was making money off of what you were doing. If I'm a college football player or I'm a college basketball player, I'm working, counting schoolwork, if I'm doing it, I'm working 12, 14 hours a day probably. You're practicing 3 hours, which I think they limited it to 2. I mean, you go to the class for 6, 7, 8 hours, and then you got to study. And this is the thing. You're not allowed to have a job to make any money. And I just find it mind-blowing to me that you think it ever... Wait a second. Okay, well, go ahead.
Okay.
You can interrupt me whenever you want, Mary. Raise your voice, scream, holler. I don't really care. You're going to listen to me right now because you've got underprivileged kids here that grow up that have no money they're taking to college. They have no way to make any money. And I know of college players that have slept in their cars because there's no extra money. It's just, this is a joke. And when you're taking, I think it's 60%, or not 60%, but it's like 30 to 40% of college athletes are underprivileged. And you're going to take them out of their situation. You're going to put them in an entirely, and you're probably taking them from a school where they were not taught to study properly, probably. They were not taught any of these skills. They were taught you can shoot that ball, you can throw that ball, so we're going to pass you through. You're going to go to the University of Arkansas. Well, maybe not Arkansas because then people aren't that smart. But you're going to send them to, like, UCLA, and all of a sudden you're going to expect them to assimilate, to study, and they don't even have the money to buy a pizza on a Saturday night. That's not fair, Mary. They're using these kids. They're using underprivileged kids and making a lot of money off of it. And I don't see why a school that, on average, my guess is this. If you took all the universities in the world, or in this country, and averaged the net worth of them, you're probably looking at $200 million or close to it. So the fact that you don't want to pay these underprivileged kids that don't have money to spend on anything while they're at that college, and they can't have a job during the season, I find that mind-blowing that anybody would be all right with that.
Am I allowed to talk now? Last 2 times I was trying to talk, I kind of got insulted.
Well,
so can I talk now?
You got insulted, but, you were condescending most of the show at the start.
I wasn't trying to be condescending.
Well, when
I wasn't
I'm winning
trying
the
to
argument, you're giggling.
I apologize if I came off as condescending.
And,
I apologize.
Well, the other thing is this. If you listen to any of my shows, if anybody talks over anybody for too long, I usually tell them to shut the hell up at some point, more violently than that. So you got off easy, so don't worry about it. Go ahead.
Well, I honestly didn't mean to try to cut you off, but going over the phone, you are talking, and when I think you stop, I stop and you hear me talk. So I do apologize for that because I was not trying to interrupt. But it's also one of your things, your points that you make is you make the point that there are college athletes who don't have enough money and can't go to school. And I would say that's also a problem most students are dealing with. Like that's not
but they're not being, their money's not being made off
athletes.
Money's not being made off of them.
Okay. And the second point on that is I actually didn't know, and so this has obviously changed since I was in athletics, because we were allowed to have jobs during season as long as it wasn't during practice time. So
Really?
if you're saying that that rule has changed, yeah, we could have them as long as we didn't mix practice. So like I worked Saturdays because I didn't have a full ride, so I had money I had to make up for my scholarship. And so I worked on Saturday evenings, and of course, anytime I had competition, I got those days off, but I also worked on the off seasons. So you might be saying something that has changed and I would be unaware of, but I know that was very common in swimming and tennis, and our basketball team, most of them worked when they were not practicing for that exact reason, to have that extra income.
Ask her, was that a work-study program, or was that actually a private job held, not tied to the university?
It was a private job.
You can work at Burger King if you wanted to.
Yes, sir.
You weren't on full scholarship. You weren't on full scholarship.
I was not on full scholarship.
That's
No,
why,
sir.
Mary.
That's why, Mary. You weren't on full scholarship. Full scholarship athletes cannot work. They cannot hold a job.
I'm looking it up. I'm looking it up right now. You're not a Division I college basketball player can't. And see, it was like that.
A college basketball player can't? Interesting.
It was like that in 1987 for me, and it was like that back in the Stone Ages, back in 1981
yeah,
for Steve.
And I know.
Yep.
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry, I'm not trying to interrupt. But I know there's different rules, like, because there are some sports that can break up scholarships, right? Like, I believe if the sport of golf, men's golf has 4 scholarships for the whole team. And so there might be one person, they might have 4 people on full rides, or they might have 8 people on 50%, right?
Yeah.
Whereas football and basketball do not work like that. You either you are on full ride or you are not. So like you said, there could be different rules with basketball and football that the other sports that can break up their scholarships may not have those rules. Because I know those rules are not, because I know that.
Okay. If you're on a full scholarship for golf, you can work a job. It's basketball and football where it's not allowed because they are just full scholarships.
Revenue producing sports. Right.
Yeah, because I was saying I knew golfers that worked worked on their off days. I knew a lot of athletes that I actually knew some basketball players that did. And so from what you're saying, they were not on scholarship. I assumed they were because they were starters. But like I said, that is not a rule I was aware of, and I know it doesn't work in other sports.
See, that's condescending because that's wrong. Because I'm looking at this, and the rule has been like that since 1973.
No, I believe you. I believe you. I just did not know that. Like I said, it doesn't work for sports that can break up their scholarships, so I did not know that.
Yeah, it's only fully scholarship sports, which I don't think women's college basketball you can either.
I actually don't know if women's college basketball breaks up their scholarship. I do not know the answer to that question. I do not know. I do not know.
All right, are we done? Because I'm getting tired now. Me and Steve are a lot older than you, so we wear out. But Mary, any final comments?
No.
Oh, no. Come on.
I hope. Well, I hope I put my position out there. I still stand by it. I feel like there are a lot of things that when you make this decision, you have to realize that it's affecting hundreds of thousands of people. It's not just affecting the star basketball player at Kentucky. It's not just talking about the quarterback at Alabama. It's talking about the diver that is at Purdue. It's talking about the UCF high jumper. These rules are going to reverberate and affect 460,000 student athletes a year. And so I just want there to make sure you realize that if you're willing to cut out those smaller programs, realize that's what's happening if you're doing it for the revenue sports. And if you make that choice, that's fine. If you make the choice that we need to pay the people who are bringing in the money, then realize that's going to come at the expense of somebody, and do that with your eyes wide open. Because like I stated this before, but with the implementation of Title IX of just scholarships, having to pay equal scholarships, tons and tons, hundreds of men's collegiate sports programs disappeared over the course of 5 years. And if you do the same thing again of putting more money and more awards on these football and basketball, which you say make the money, then it's going to come at the expense of somebody. And you just have to have your eyes open that those somebodies matter to people who are using using collegiate athletics, because there are lots of sports where collegiate athletics is the pinnacle, right? There aren't Super Bowls. There isn't an NBA, there isn't an NFL, there isn't an NHL for track and field, right? Yes, there's a professional racket, but most high school track and field athletes dream of collegiate athletics. Most soccer teams, most tennis programs, the individual tennis athlete wants to compete at the tennis level. That is what they dream of. And then the big dreams go on forward, especially with the Olympic athletes who only have the chance to, perform worldwide every 4 years. Their dreams are collegiate sports. And by doing this, those are the sports that are going to get the biggest hit.
All right. And
my last take.
My point was this, though. The schools can afford to pay for it.
Well, you and I will always disagree on that.
Well, there's no disagreement with raw numbers showing all these schools. And I've looked at like 40 schools. Every one of them's worth more than $130 million. Steve, final comments? Were you not done yet?
No, I was just going to give you, I pulled up my stats for all those that you had asked, and it was from NCAA Revenue and Expenses, the Division I report from March of 2013, just if you wanted to look that up. That was where most of those stats that I was giving you came from. So just for your own records. Anyway, go ahead.
I'm not going to remember that a minute from now yet. Go ahead, Steve.
No, I'm fine with it. I mean, I just think that it's come a point in time where the only person not getting a part of the pie that's out there in the university is the athletes that are generating the revenue. If that boils down to right now football and basketball, so be it. That's what it is. It'll eventually expand itself out as streaming comes online and more revenues are generated through advertising of minorities, or minor sports, such as swimming, wrestling, volleyball, lacrosse. They'll eventually all get their day. But you got to start somewhere. And you can't start with destroying the world. And right now, the bulk of the income coming into these universities is generated through the 15 players that are on basketball scholarships and the 90, I don't know how many players are on football, 103, 96, whatever. No, whatever. That's coming through them. It's starting there, and that's the root of the food chain. And it's coming up. And everybody, from the minute it gets above ground, is taking a cut of the profits that are being made. Universities, professors, schools, facilities, outside contractors, advertisers, shoe companies. But the athletes that are generating it are not getting a cut, and they're getting thrown in their face, shut up, you get a scholarship. It's not worth it anymore. And if you want to save the ancillary sports, you'd better keep the athletes happy that are producing revenue right now. Because if they decide to go off on their own and do this, the revenues will decrease dramatically to the NCAA and to the universities. because they'll then get a union and control their own house. And then they'll regulate how much money goes back to the universities and to the NCAA, just as the players' associations of all professional sports. If you're not watching that, looking at what the next frontier is college athletics, you're really being naive. It'll happen right there. The model already exists. So I'd say get them on board, get them part of in the fold, make them part of the process, reward them for the hard work and commitment that they make, and the good they're doing for athletics and academia in all. But no longer is the value of a college scholarship worth the revenue that our revenue-producing sports are generating because of the internet, because of television, because of all the outside things we've talked about. It's no longer equal pay. And we're fighting that argument across the board on every genre that we know in demand, that equal pay needs to be everywhere. It's not equal anymore. It was in 1981, possibly when I was playing. I get that. I never argued this point until now. And to anybody naively thinking that the numbers that's coming out of the NCAA are hard, fast, and accurate, I fear for you, because you're really getting sold a bridge from London that's sitting in Arizona or something, whatever that means. I don't know.
Bridge.
But you're getting sold up the creek.
It's in Arizona.
That's actually the London Bridge is actually in Arizona. That's actually true.
The London Bridge is in Arizona.
They sold the London Bridge. Somebody in Arizona bought it and put it up. I don't know. The old London Bridge. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is you better bring these people in the fold quickly. You better get them involved in the process, or the process is going to blow up in everybody's face. And then you're really going to have trouble with non-revenue producing sports in smaller schools. Then they will go away, because the money will start to dry up then. Because then college athletes will eventually control their own destiny. Right now they don't. And I'm not sure they need to control their own destiny. I think if we compensate them fairly and appropriately, and we dangle carrots out so they get their degrees and go on. And I loved your point about the less fortunate athletes or the diversity candidates or the people in inner city that don't have the potential to generate the income. We give them greater opportunity down the road. We're doing good for everybody in the big picture. And it's not just about giving Steve Risley $10,000 a year to play basketball in Indiana. It's much bigger than that. And it needs to be, it needs to be held accountable. Universities need to be held accountable. And genuine facts need to be laid on the table. And the players need to be starting to be compensated for the work that they're giving back to the universities above and beyond their academia. That's all I'm going to say about it.
All right. So, guys, we will be back Sunday night with John Einreinhofer will be sitting in. He wants to talk with Steve. They're going to discuss NASCAR, why NASCAR's dropped off, what could be done to bring it back to where it was 15, 20 years ago. Also, you can go check out the Best Available Draft podcast on thegruelingtruth.net. That will be up tonight also with myself and Matt Minnick talking defensive backs. You can hear all of our shows on iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher, wherever you find sports podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So for Mary, Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.